There are not many issues on the airsoft field that are more annoying than your replica not feeding BBs properly. You see an opponent have perfect line of sight, pull the trigger, and no BB comes out. Your opportunity for the perfect hit is gone. The reason for those feeding issues very often is hiding in your gearbox setup, low quality BBs, or a faulty hopup configuration. But in case you can exclude all of those factors, maybe it is also your old or worn out magazine that causes the trouble. In this video, I'd like to show you 3 ways to solve magazine-based feeding issues. Stay tuned. Today's video is once again sponsored by the Airsoft shop of Begadi.com, where you can get all of the presented parts to get rid of your feeding issues. Of course, the easiest and sometimes even best way in critical cases can be to buy a complete set of new magazines. But usually, you also could fix the issues by yourself. 2 simple ways to do so could be to replace a worn-out magazine spring with a new one, or to increase the spring tension by using the Begadi MagGuide Set. I will show you the benefits and limitations of all of those methods, so you can pick the most convenient one for your individual situation. In order to show you the typical reasons for poorly feeding magazines, I prepared one of my M4 AEG midcaps and stressed the internal spring heavily. To get a better impression of the effect of our repair attempts, I also show you how a brand new magazine of the same type works. The faulty mag's inner shell is marked with an X, so you always know which mag is the one we work on. As I mentioned before, the spring on this one is heavily corrupted. It has been stored fully loaded for 2 weeks, bent out of its original shape, and also has been shortened a bit, so it basically represents the worst case that could happen to your magazine spring. Let's see how a proper BB discharge cycle on this magazine type should look like, and how the defective one does the job. You clearly can see how nice and regular the spring has been compressed on the left one, while on the faulty one, it's more or less like a big mess, causing a lot of internal friction. Also, the mag's full capacity has decreased on the right one. I was not able to load more BBs with my manual speed loader here. Unloading the mag manually shows the lack of spring pressure. The BB follower gets stuck before the complete amount of BBs has been pushed out, so feeding in your airsoft replica probably would be a disaster on this one. Just to make sure you know the difference, here is how it should look like on a properly working magazine. Now let's find out if we can get this thing back to work flawlessly again with the spare parts provided by Begadi. The first thing you can try is to increase the pressure on the internal spring by using the Begadi MagGuide Set. It consists of several mag guides, 2 long and 2 medium ones, both made of flexible rubber, and 2 short, rigid ones. Those replace the original spring guide and can be chosen individually for each type of magazine. The process of opening the shells and replacing the original spring guide slightly differs from magazine to magazine, but it's no big deal usually. This is why I don't show this in detail here. My personal favorites are the flexible spring guides, as they adapt nicely to the inner shape of the feeding tube, which can be a good thing on mags you don't have a transparent shell inside and want to avoid internal jams. After you picked your mag guide of choice, you can add some of the small blocks behind it. Each block increases the spring tension a little, so this is a good way to do fine adjustments. Also if you struggle with midcap syndrome, for example. Begadi claims one set to be sufficient for 2 or 3 magazines, but in this case I add all of the blocks as I want to show you the effect as good as possible. Time to check if the BBs will be pushed out more powerfully after the installation of the Begadi MagGuide Set. You see, the pressure indeed got a lot higher due to our little fix. The BB follower did not get stuck anymore. Still, the spring most likely is a little too short to feed all the BBs until the end. Keep in mind, this spring has been damaged by me on purpose, so on most medium weakened or worn out springs, you should be able to get proper results with this set, be it on low or mid-cap magazines. For more extreme cases or completely broken springs, the second option would be to replace the magazine spring. Begadi offers a special super feed spring, which is also used in their newest midcap lineup. It promises even more feeding power than average springs, so it should be a good solution for our problem here. One little restriction is it can only be used on double stack midcaps like the one you see here. For other mags, such as single stack low caps, it will not fit. As a first step, you want to get the old spring out of the magazine. In case it gets stuck somewhere inside, it can help to use a jamming rod or just to fill in some BBs while the spring guide is not installed. Now remove the old BB follower and install it to the new spring. This should be done easily with a little bending and stretching, but be careful not to damage the new spring. Before you install the super feed spring into the feeding tube, you should add a thin layer of silicone oil to the spring. The spring is made of special spring steel, which provides the power and durability. The silicone will help to prevent it from rusting. My personal silicone oil was empty at the time of the recordings, so please don't forget this in favor of a long-lasting and strong feeding capability. With this freshly installed spring, the magazine should feed the BBs as it did when it was new, or even better. Let's take a look. And indeed, all of the BBs came out with sufficient speed and pressure. Compared to the original, there is no notable difference in my eyes. Consequently, replacing the spring seems to be an easy to do and affordable solution to bring your magazines back to life, especially if the old spring is not usable anymore at all. But for all of you who don't want to rely on a DIY method, Begadi does have a suitable alternative for you. There are many possible reasons why you would prefer buying new magazines over repairing your old ones. For example, if you want a better fit to your replica's mag well, you want to try a new look, or you simply have no time to fix the old mags by yourself. The Begadi Pro Midcap series is a quite good choice if you're looking for a new set of magazines. It offers several cool features and is not only available for M4, but also for AK and MP5 style replicas. Here is why I think those mags are quite a good deal. Inside the packaging, we find one midcap mag holding up to 150 BBs, a set of covers for the lower BB inspection windows, and the right Allen key for the bottom plate screw. The first impression of the magazine is quite sturdy. Made of composite polyamide with glass fiber content, the outer shell should be capable to resist some impact and probably will last you for a long time. There are all in all 3 ways to check the charging level of the BBs on this midcap. 2 long and narrow windows just below the opening port, 2 more smaller windows on the lower end, and the transparent top side of the magazine. Those allow you to be aware of how many BBs you have left in any situation of the game. A quite handy feature, which is in fact optional, as I will show you soon. The BB follower is made of a bright reddish material, which makes it easy to identify the exact position through the inspection windows. As I mentioned, the spring inside is the very same we just installed to our broken midcap and should provide strong feeding and a long lifespan, if maintained correctly. In order to get a closer look on the inner shells, just remove the bottom end screw and the additional pin which secures the shell inside the outer hull. I have never seen this feature before, a very interesting solution. Through the transparent inner shells, you can see the red extra long spring guide. This guy ensures the spring to wind up correctly and not to get damaged when the mag is filled to the edge. In case you don't like or need the inspection windows, in this state you could replace the transparent plastic insert with a black additional ones. Doing so, you could achieve a little more realistic appearance, but as I mentioned before, this is absolutely optional. Unfortunately, Begadi did not add an additional cover for the narrow windows, but with 2 pieces of black insulation tape, you can create one by yourself easily. It's up to you which looks you prefer. Here you see the spring's very symmetrical compression, even with a full load of BBs, which causes a lot of pressure inside. Opening the BB latch shows how smooth the BBs pour out again, but on a new midcap of this quality I did not expect anything else actually. Oh, did I mention you can get this type of midcap in 3 different color variants in total? This way you can pick the best match for your personal replica. There is only one thing I do not like on the Begadi Pro Max, which is the very prominently placed Begadi label. On their recent releases, I noticed similar decisions before and respect this choice in favor of better brand awareness. Also other companies such as Norwich do it this way. But to be honest, I would like the Max even more if the label would have been placed more discreetly, on the bottom plate for example. In all of the AEG replicas I own, which use M4 type magazines, the Begadi Pro Mag did a very good job, both in terms of fitting tolerances and feeding. First, my Lonex M4. Minimal play inside the mag well, perfect feeding in semi. Second, Syma Cybergun Ska L. Absolutely zero play, but still easy fit, flawless feeding again. Third, the G&G Firehawk. Almost no play and no compromise in feeding in full auto. Note how the BB follower rushes down the feeding tube, very satisfying to watch. The next day, I took the Begadi Pro Max to a game day at Airsoft Park Aachen to find out how they would perform under real action conditions. Therefore, I covered the windows in different ways in order to see how much I would benefit from the charging level inspection feature. The first thing I noticed was how easy it was to see all the mags are fully loaded right from the plate carrier, no matter if facing upwards or downwards. Also in-game, the inspection windows really improved the efficiency of my game. Especially before or after direct confrontations with the opponent team, it was good to see there are enough BBs left, or to decide for a tactical reload. In this case, I saw everything was fine and moved on looking for opponent players.
Ja, ist weg.
Da ist noch einer hinter.
Da ist noch einer?
Ja, ja.
Okay.
Genau. Und da.
I have to admit, when I had picked the completely covered mag with no way left to see the BBs, I kinda missed the feature. It just left the feeling of being unsure if you should reload now or still wait a little.
Jetzt!
In this situation, for example, when I was taken out of the game, I noticed the mag was almost empty and changed it for a fresh one. Otherwise, I would have spawned again with an empty mag. I bet this has happened to many of you before at least once, right? I also gave one of the Begadi Pro Mags to my teammate Lucky, so he could test it in his Wolverine MTW Billet Unleashed. I already noticed it sat quite tight in my own one, and it was the same on his replica. But feeding was, as you can see, no problem for him.
Gehen schwer raus, ne? Ja, das hatte ich bei meiner auch. Okay, vielen Dank.
So, after testing all 3 possible methods, what would be my recommendation if your Airsoft magazine suffers from poor feeding? Well, if you only have slight feeding issues or want to improve fine-tuning on the mag spring pressure, you should take a closer look at the Begadi MagGuide Set. Also, a good clean of the internals could help. In case of heavy feeding issues, I think replacing the entire spring would be a good idea at a low price point. And if you don't want to open the mags by yourself, or you want a great solution just out of the box, the Begadi Pro Midcap series could be your optimal choice. Whatever you decide for, best wishes from my side to get rid of those nasty feeding issues in the future. For more interesting Airsoft content, feel free to browse around my channel, where I already uploaded several videos and shorts. Looking forward to see you there. So long, have a good one.